Discovery is no longer my home. I am currently unemployed. Finally, after much speculation, Richard Rawlings is not guilty. His marriage is ended. He sold all of his cars suddenly, and Discovery really killed his show, all of which the Fast and Loud star claims are explained by a dark secret he's been keeping. At 55 years of age, he feels comfortable enough to come clean about the $6 million 0 cents lawsuit. Believe us when we say it's much worse than anyone anticipated. He came into this world on March 30th in a working-class neighborhood of Fort Worth, Texas. Even before he became a TV star and major player in the car industry, he had a deep passion for automobiles. He sits in a pedal-powered Volkswagen Beetle as a proud little boy in one of the oldest pictures of him. It foreshadowed more than just a toy. While his peers watched cartoons on Saturday mornings, Richard had other plans. At 3 in the morning, when the majority of city dwellers were still fast asleep, he would join his dad in delivering newspapers. They would drive through shadowy neighborhoods, stack papers, and then toss them on porches. After school, Richard repeated the process for the afternoon session. In order to earn money on weekends, he would pedal his bike from one house to another. During those rounds, it wasn't merely the money, it was the cars that stood out. He became acutely aware of each one of them. For every home, he could name the year, brand, and model of the car. His extensive knowledge surprised some of his clients. With a simple, "I ride by your house twice a day, most days of the week. How wouldn't I know what's in your driveway?" he effortlessly responded. Even though he worked 2 or 3 jobs, his dad always made sure he had a motorcycle or car for himself. The lesson stayed with him, and he only got that one toy as a reward. What Richard saw taught him was that success came at a cost. At the age of 14, Richard received his first car. Originating in 1974, the Comet was verdant. The money he had saved over the years of delivering newspapers was utilized to cover the cost. Richard, unlike many of his peers, was already behind the wheel when he turned 16. Even though it was against the rules, he persisted anyhow. The Comet wasn't merely a ride, it conveyed a message. Donuts on the tires were his way of demonstrating the vehicle's capabilities in the school parking lot. Despite its repulsive verdant hue, his pals continued to bring it up in conversation. In his mind, it was the pinnacle of automotive design. Following that, progress was rapid. In the 1987-1988 academic year, he had already amassed 3 vehicles. This particular instance involved a 1977 Black Bandit Trans Am. At Eastern Hills High School, he was dubbed the Car Guy due to the fact that it resembled a scene from Smokey and the Bandit. The point wasn't merely to brag, though. Additionally, he was involved in the auto repair and resale industry, sometimes known as flipping. Prior to his graduation, he had already completed 20 separate car flips. Not only did he not guess, but he also earned more than the average teen working part-time. Finding deals, improving them slightly, and convincing people to pay more than he did were all within his capabilities. Subsequent developments were based on that. At the tender age of 22, Rawlings faced an even more formidable challenge in the early 1990s, a 1965 Ford Mustang 2+2 Fastback. The type of body style that many car owners fantasize about was the muscle car he was piloting. His vehicle was taken in the middle of the night as he drove through a rough neighborhood close to Oakland Boulevard in Fort Worth. They made an effort to remove him from the position of driver. Richard retaliated. A gunshot wound ran down his left arm from his shoulder during the altercation. He succeeded. Instead of permanently distancing himself from car culture, he became even more motivated. All of that came before the garage, the fame, and the tattoos. Richard went through 3 distinct wardrobe changes between 1988 and 1990. He was a nurse, firefighter, and police officer before he turned 21. "I want you to get a good job with benefits, stay loyal, and retire with a gold watch," his dad would forever tell him. Richard was paying attention initially when he introduced Miller Lite to a local bar in 1988. It changed everything. He was asked about his life goals by an old acquaintance he mistakenly believed was simply another drunk. Despite Richard's stated desire to attend police academy, he was unable to do so due to financial constraints. The man shot Richard an angry glance and muttered, "Damn it, I'm the mayor of that city." Richard had just 17 days to apply to the North Texas Police Academy and secure his spot. After serving as a police officer in Alvarado, he moved on to Capel to become a fireman. He had a lot of skills and could remain composed even when things went wrong. In the future, when faced with a business crisis, he would draw on those abilities. However, by the time he was 25 years old, he felt the need for a breakthrough. After liquidating his possessions, he purchased a Jeep. He departed for California with the intention of starting anew. Back then, he didn't sport any body art. After 6 months, he returned to Texas without a Jeep, tattoos, or pierced ears. Even though the bank had taken it back, he was sound asleep on his sister's couch. Rather than weakening him, that abyss fortified him. Lincoln Press was established in 1999 when he decided to strike out on his own. The Dallas-based business printed and distributed advertisements. While his knowledge of branding was extensive, his knowledge of printing was limited. To launch his company, he secured a $100,000 zero-cents small business loan. Lincoln Press was thriving in only 5 years. A Lamborghini Gallardo was presented to the client upon the company's first $1 million sale in 2004. It was effective. Over time, the company's size increased. Ultimately, he made a sale. The proceeds from that sale allowed him to fulfill his lifelong ambition of purchasing automobiles. Richard Rawlings' 2002 Dallas establishment, Gas Monkey Garage, failed to gain much traction. It was just a little shop. He used the proceeds from the sale of Lincoln Press to build it, and it lacked basic amenities like running water and air conditioning. An unfortunate beginning was made. The problem wasn't with Rawlings' ability, but with his desire. He and his small crew continued to travel the nation, participating in parades, trade shows, and car shows because he was still passionate about what he was doing. Gas Monkey was a name they were willing to do anything to promote. Along with his friend Dennis Collins, he embarked on the legendary Cannonball Run in May 2007. The previous record stood from 1979 with a time of 32 hours and 51 minutes. That's a total amount of time required to drive coast to coast from NYC to LA. Nearly 3 decades had passed since the record's last spin. Rawlings and Collins decided to try it out in May 2007. While on the bull run from Montreal to Key West, they veered off the intended path. Subsequently, they proceeded directly to the record. They took the wheel of a Ferrari 550 Maranello that had undergone modifications and received additional fuel tanks to reduce the frequency of stops. From Manhattan to the Portofino Inn in Rondo Beach, it took them a mere 31 hours and 59 minutes. In the dead of night, they set out. We finished. After 28 years, the previous record stood at 87, which they surpassed. 6. On a road that extends to 811 miles. Not everyone believed it at first. The achievement stood out even though many questioned the route or compared it to the initial runs. Jay Leno personally nodded to Rawlings because it was courageous, risky, and authentic. Unbeknownst to most, that moment held greater significance for him. When it comes to cars, Jay Leno is more than just a guy. There are a plethora of vintage and rare automobiles in his garage. Everyone in the industry looks up to him because of his extensive knowledge of automobiles. The news that Rawlings had broken the Cannonball Run record wasn't simply a compliment from Leno. It was a powerful expression of consent. Even though Rawlings didn't become famous until after Fast and Loud, the nod from Leno earned him immense respect in the automotive industry. Rawlings valued that trust. It wasn't easy to launch Gas Monkey between 2002 and 2012. He invested every dime of his savings into the company. Even without running water, air conditioning, or sufficient tools, he continued to operate out of a garage. Finding reliable employees and appropriate components was a challenge for him. On occasion, he had to struggle simply to maintain power. Every undertaking included some degree of risk. Every client had to be won over. Rawlings started discussing his show plan around that time. Not only did he want to make auto repair accessible to car enthusiasts, but he wanted more people. His goal was to appeal to families, children, and anybody else who enjoyed a fast-paced, entertaining story. However, networks were unconcerned. The proposal appeared to be either overly detailed or too risky. He continued to promote the brand by attending more car shows, speeches, and in-person dates while he awaited an opportunity. Although progress was slow, something was accomplished. Gas Monkey had already gained some notoriety in the automotive industry by the time Discovery finally agreed in 2012. When Fast and Loud premiered on June 6, 2012, no one could have predicted that it would catapult a Dallas garage to global fame. In the middle of it all was Richard Rawlings. Back when no one was filming, he was just the proprietor of Gas Monkey Garage. His face became familiar to viewers in over 200 countries as the show gained popularity, not only in the United States, but all over the globe. There were 13 different language versions of the show. Thanks to his extensive network, Rawlings rose to prominence in the entertainment industry with relative ease. Rawlings and his team sought out forgotten vintage automobiles. The concept was straightforward but effective. Many of them were injured or had difficulty moving around. Bringing the cars to life and making them shine was an expensive ordeal. However, the show's tone was its distinguishing feature. Fast and Loud was less targeted to a specific demographic and more dramatic than other shows. It was a hit with all generations, according to Rawlings. He could have avoided making yet another car show. He hoped it would be entertaining and engaging for everyone who watched it. It was a success. The excitement, the builds, and the cars had people hooked. When Rawlings expanded his career beyond television, though, things began to turn around for him. He ventured into various ventures under the Gas Monkey brand, including restaurants, apparel lines, energy drinks, tequila, vodka, and more. Though it served as the foundation for something substantially larger, the garage remained in that location. For 2020, Rawlings had amassed a massive commercial empire. Despite the show's cancellation on June 8, 2020, following 16 seasons and 155 episodes, the brand continued to grow. It was all about improving, buying, and selling, which is what Rawlings referred to as his cash money formula. That's why the show was successful. Seeking out dilapidated automobiles in poor condition, he would traverse the nation. Next, he would expedite the process by using hard bargaining and quick cash. On occasion, he would have a large sum of money on hand in order to quickly secure an agreement from a seller. He once said, "You can always buy a $10,000 0-cents car for $5 0 cents." It wasn't just talk show fodder, it was his actual strategy, and it paid off. The system's effectiveness was best demonstrated by a Dodge Challenger build. He shelled out slightly over $40 0 cents for it. Repairs, upgrades, and additions to the building cost the business $77 0 cents. $150,000 was the price tag for the vehicle. A single flip yielded a profit of $73,000 0 cents. Plus, they were astute spenders who understood their customers' wants and needs, so it wasn't all luck. Another distinctive feature of Fast and Loud was Rawlings' willingness to take risks. Automobiles that were rusty, had frame damage, or appeared to have been parked for decades were common purchases for him. Not everyone, even members of his own team, agreed with his decisions. But Rawlings could see potential where others saw only problems. Once, he spent $400 0 cents on a massive automobile. The previous owner had broken it, which caused major technical issues. However, it was fixed by Gas Monkey Garage. After getting it fixed up, the car was sold for a pretty penny. The show's character evolved to include that type of daring wager. There was more to the show than meets the eye when these dilapidated automobiles appeared. Each of the repaired vehicles had its own history and set of issues that needed resolving. The amount of effort, time, and resources that went into the changes was plain to see. Some builds took longer than expected, while others didn't go at all. It was entertaining that some vehicles were financially unsound. The public got an up-close look at the potential rewards and risks of the auto restoration industry. With the passing of time, Fast and Loud rose to prominence as one of Discovery Channel's most watched reality programs. It ran for 8 years, from 2012 to 2020, showcasing construction, home renovation, and wild road trips. By the 4th season, the show had really taken off. Schedule constraints, unforeseen issues, and last-minute repairs all contributed to an already stressful season. Viewers were left in the dark about the team's progress on the car and the likelihood of the deal falling through. Everyone was captivated by the combination of challenge and reward. However, in 2020, Rawlings made a decisive decision. He made it clear that his involvement with Discovery's The Joe Rogan Experience had ended. Having power was the reason. He despised the idea of being constrained in his future endeavors by responsibilities that stifled his imagination. Taking a chance by breaking away from the network opened doors to new possibilities. Ever since then, he has been steadily expanding Gas Monkey Garage, his YouTube channel, and other new media endeavors to build his brand. Although Richard Rawlings had already achieved fame in the automotive sector, he decided to broaden his brand's scope beyond automobiles and engines in 2013. He established the original Gas Monkey Bar and Grill in North Dallas that September. It was constructed on the site of the former Firewater Bar and Grill. There were 19,000 square feet. In addition to being a restaurant, it doubled as a bar, a venue for live music, and an upscale hangout. The venue could accommodate up to 1 to 200 people, and he ensured that it was run by individuals with actual experience. The business was taken over by Alex Mendanza, who had previously been the general manager of the House of Blues in Las Vegas. In order to implement these changes, David Hollister was recruited to oversee the kitchen. As soon as the club opened, there was an eerie silence. 2 days prior to its public opening, the American rock band Old 97S performed the venue's inaugural live performance. There was life and style there from the beginning. By March of 2014, the business was prepared to expand. Building a second Gas Monkey Bar and Grill in DFW Airport's Terminal D was the correct move on his part. Gas Monkey now had a location where passengers at one of the largest airports in the nation could enjoy their food, tunes, and brand. The idea of a third location outside of the DFW area was even mentioned by him. He wasn't idling, he was actually creating something. Beyond its menu, the bar and grill offered more. Music, cars, and nightlife converged at this spot, turning it into a party spot. That same year, in October, Rawlings ramped it up a level. Across the street from the original bar and grill, he established Gas Monkey Live. 3,000 people could easily fit into its enormous 38,000 square feet. It was previously Toby Keith's I Love This Bar and Grill until Rawlings purchased it. After his renovations, it became a bustling music hall fit for large-scale performances. Punk rock heavyweights Social Distortion performed on the inaugural evening. Following that, the venue began to attract notable events and big bands. One of the most talked about events happened in November 2014. Motley Crue performed a complimentary concert there as a stop on their All Bad Things Must End tour. Unfortunately, not everyone was able to attend the Dodge Rocks Gas Monkey event. The entry was strictly for Dodge car owners only. Not only was there music, but Dodge also had their newest models on display, including the Charger SRT Hellcat and the Challenger SRT Hellcat. Night after night, the show, the music, and the speed all came together. Private parties, corporate gatherings, and VIP events could also be held at Gas Monkey Live. With its many different sized rooms and green rooms, it was easy to use for more than just music. With all of its achievements, the venue still had a tough time. May 2020 marked the end of Gas Monkey Live. We were unable to continue operations due to the financial burden caused by the COVID-19 outbreak. Although the curtain fell on a courageous chapter in Rawlings's foray into live theater, it did not dampen his ambition to achieve great things. In 2014, Gas Monkey Live made its debut. In the same year, Rawlings was appointed as Dodge's national spokesperson. Suddenly, his likeness appeared everywhere. Commercials featured him raving about the speed and style of a Dodge as he drove one. He had already become famous from Fast and Loud, and now he was assisting Dodge with national car sales.